And welcome back. Good to have you here. Today we will be talking about Chapter 8 in the text, which deals with the subject of process analysis, which is just a really fancy way of telling us that we are explaining things step by step. We are giving instructions on how to go about doing something. The method, well, this type of writing explains, step by step, either one of two things: how to do something or how something is done, how something comes to be, such as how are glaciers formed or how are rock formations formed. That's explaining how something is done. How to do something? Pretty easy. How to bake a cake. How to make a necklace. How to ride a bike. That's how to do something. How something is done, something is acted upon something causing the result. Water, the process of water running over rocks for a long period of time makes them smooth. That's a very abbreviated story because I'm not a science person, but it's how something comes about. That's what we mean by how something is done. The method, two kinds. The directive process analysis. How to do something or make something. A recipe for baking a cake. Or the instructions for taking an exam. So, instructions to follow to accomplish a certain result. The informative process. This explains how something is done or how it takes place. Examples would be how atoms behave when they split, how lions hunt, how a fertilized egg develops into a child. So, directive, that's instructional; informative, how something happens. Okay. Points to consider. Well, you better understand clearly the process you're going to analyze. Make sure you understand what you are explaining completely. If you are confused, your reader will be too. So, if you want to write out step-by-step instructions for baking a cake, maybe you want to make a cake first. See how you do. You also have to consider your thesis. What is the point? Why are you doing this in the first place? Make it interesting and lively. Show how the information given may help the reader. For example, if you, in your early attempts at baking, forgot one of the ingredients when you tried to make a chocolate cake and you ended up with a chocolate pancake instead of a chocolate cake, maybe you want to throw that little story into your process analysis on how to make a cake, just to make it more fun and interesting. Make it more personal for the reader, because if I read something like that, I would be like, yep, I'm so there. Not a baker, so there. I could so easily make a chocolate pancake if you don't tell me exactly what to do step by step. Make it interesting if you can. Think about preparatory steps, right? If your reader needs to do something before they actually begin the process, let them know up front. Don't walk me through the process of making a chocolate cake and I have it all nice and pretty and ready to go, and then you tell me to preheat the oven to 425 degrees? No. Now I have to preheat the oven and sit and wait. You should have told me to preheat the oven first. So, any prep work. That's why a lot of times recipes, for example, will begin by listing the ingredients you're going to need. Maybe even the equipment you're going to need. Measuring cups, bowls, spoons, mixers. So the baking challenged, right here, baking challenge, can't screw it up. List the steps or stages in the process. Usually this is done time-wise, otherwise known as chronologically. First you do this, second you do that, third you do the other thing, and so on until you get to the end. You may want to explain the process by grouping by subject matter if you've got a lot going on at once. There's a lot of things happening to make an earthquake, and you might want to talk about what happens to get it started, what it can, damages it can create, and how that happens. Sometimes you do have to group by subject. Check the order and completeness of your steps. Always double check. Make sure you include all the steps and in the right order. If you forget to tell me to add an egg in your cake recipe, what kind of cake am I going to have? Yuck. Now, I suppose there are recipes out there now that don't require eggs. Like I say, I don't know. I'm baking challenged, but to me it sounds yucky. Define your terms. If you are using specialized or technical terms, make sure you define them. For example, if I was writing about the process a paralegal legal assistant would go through to become certified, a certified paralegal, by NALA. NALA? What's NALA? One of the Cubs in the Lion King, I know that. Well, yeah, but it also stands for National Association of Legal Assistants. Use one-time markers or transitions. These words or phrases let the reader know when one phase ends and the next one begins. For example, after the cake has cooled, you may apply the frosting. Again, baking challenged here. Probably would put the frosting on right away if you didn't tell me to let the cake cool. Separate each step with some sort of transition that lets me know, okay, this step is done, now I have to do this step. I let the cake cool. Now I can frost it. Okay? Be specific. Include as much detail as you can think of in your first draft. You can always remove unnecessary words in your second draft. Second draft is where you go through the revising and editing process. Okay? So, when you're first going through, write everything down. You can always fine-tune the second time around. Revise. Read your final draft carefully to make sure it is all-inclusive and makes sense. Have a friend read your work to see if he or she can do whatever it is you explain in your writing. Can they bake the cake? Based strictly on your instructions, your process analysis, and nothing else, can they bake a tasty cake. If they can't, you've done something wrong. You've left something out. You put something in the wrong order. Something. Okay? So here's your checklist. The thesis. Does your process analysis have a point? Does your reader know what it is? In order to make a chocolate cake, you need the following. Oh, I'm going to bake a cake. Okay. Organization. Have you arranged the steps in a clear chronological order? First you do this, then you do that. After the cake has cooled, warning, after the cake has cooled, then you can frost it. Organization. Have you arranged the steps in a clear chronological order? If steps occur simultaneously at the same time, have you grouped them so your reader can see some kind of order? I know in the case of a lot of recipes, you have to do two things at once. You have to stir while you're adding something. You have to make sure that your wording is clear and the reader understands. Oh, while I'm doing this, I have to do this. I have to pour and stir. Okay? Completeness. Have you included all the necessary steps and explained each one fully? Mix the batter. Mix the batter. Mix the batter. Okay, I'm done. It's a little chunky, but hey, it's mixed. Okay. No. Mix the batter until it is a smooth, creamy consistency. Oh, okay, I'm not there yet. And I need to keep mixing until it is smooth and creamy. Okay? That's what we mean by detail. Include detail. Definitions. Have you explained the meanings of any terms your readers may not know? Nala? Nala. Well, if you're not writing about the Lion King, you better explain what you mean by Nala. National Association of Legal Assistants. Okay. Transition. Do time markers distinguish the steps of your process and clearly show their sequence? After this is done, you can do this. Right? After the cake has cooled, you can proceed now and frost the cake. Make sure your transitions let your reader know what is supposed to be happening. Consistency. Have you maintained comfortable, consistent, and clear subject and verb forms? Clear, concise language that is easy for the reader to understand. If you're using words that are not familiar to people who aren't already familiar with your topic, make sure you explain them. Fold in a cup of heavy cream. Fold? Fold? I'm sorry. You would have to explain that to me. I've heard the term in baking many times. Still not 100% sure what it is. So it's incorporating something into something somehow, I guess. But unless you're dealing with somebody you know has a lot of baking experience, you better explain what you mean by fold. There you go. So there you have it. The checklist for the explanatory step-by-step process of how things happen or how you do things, one or the other. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you in the next chapter.